Hi, my amazing planner friends. It's Jess from My Magical Planner, and today we're going to be officially moving into my 2025 Makselife system, and we'll be filling out the annual goal notebook today. Some of this I have already done so that it goes a little faster, but we will be putting down my goals together and so I can talk you through what my goals for this next year are. Now, we've already done a couple of videos leading up to this if you've missed it, one being a reflection video and the annual goals toolkit. I've also used a lot of ChatGPT to help me narrow things down and figure out what to do. So we'll be talking a little bit about that as we go through this whole thing. All right, let's go ahead and jump in. So if you're unfamiliar with the Makselife system, they are a goal setting planner. There are two different versions. There is a flagship, which is a 7x9 planner that has everything kind of all included. And then there's this system. This is the companion notebooks. So you get one notebook for your annual goals, and then you have quarterly notebooks that are kind of companions to a planner if you already have a planner that you really love, which I do. I use my Hobonichi Cousin and my Sterling ink for everything else. So here's your introductory page, which is really nice. Then you have kind of your welcome. I recommend when you read through this to highlight things, circle things that are important, make yourself little notes so that it sticks in your brain a little better. That tends to be what I do, obviously. The first thing that you actually have to fill out in here is your compass assessment, which is a life assessment. To do this, you go through this assessment scoring system where you'll score everything on a score of 1 to 10, 10 being the best. And then you take all those scores and you add them together and then divide them by 8 because there's 8 questions, and that gives your current score. You then put that in here. Here's where my compass kind of sits. Obviously, there's lots of room for growth. And then after you're done with this, and this is something I missed last year, you're supposed to go in and you circle where you're hoping to be at the end of the year. Now, I don't have huge jumps in anything. I'm hoping to surpass what I had, so I was a little more conservative this year. But that's where everything lays. So we're going to kind of skip over this section and we're going to stop at the intentions. Intentions are super important when you're going into this process because you want to lay down what are you looking for in the next year. All right, I'm going to walk you through the intentions questions. Feel free to pause and write your own intentions as we go along, whatever works for you. So the first question they ask us is, what could I use more of in my life this year? Fairly easy question and really important when you're thinking about where you want to go with your goals. So I put energy, dates, creativity, reading, confidence, support, movement, and calligraphy. This is kind of a personal, silly one for me. It's just kind of, it doesn't really go with the rest. I understand that, but it's something I really want to try this year. The next question is kind of the opposite of that, of what could I use less of in my life this year? Stress, anxiety, debt, stomach issues, loneliness, pain, unhealthy foods. These all kind of go together for the most part. The debt is kind of on its own, but the rest have to do with mental and physical health and getting myself into a better spot. If you are unfamiliar with my channel, I do have a lot of stomach issues, and those have a huge effect on my life in general. The next question is, what characteristics would I like to nurture this year? Confidence, balance, self-compassion, curiosity, and consistency. A lot of these have a lot to do with each other, and you'll see that as you're answering these type of questions. The next one I had some issues with this one, and we'll talk about that in a second. 3 habits I want to develop this year are budget check-ins, hopefully weekly, bedtime routine, and this one I had trouble coming up with a third one. So first I put drink enough water, and I was like, I always put down drink enough water, and I never do it. So I crossed that out and I put self-care. And I was like, well, yeah, that's great and all, but how do I really track that as a habit? So I actually went to ChatGPT and I've kind of been going back and forth with ChatGPT to work out a bunch of different things. So it has a pretty good idea of the base work I've already put down because we've already done that toolkit, and I asked it for suggestions. And the suggestion it gave me was to do a daily gratitude / support journal, which I'd never thought about before. And I really like the concept of, because one of the key things that I really want this year is more support. And this is a way of not only tracking gratitude and being more mindful and observant of it, but doing the same thing with support. So I can see either how I'm supporting myself or how I'm not, and I can make adjustments to it. The next question is, this year I will be, and it has more, and I crossed out more because the words that I put down next, it didn't flow very well. Like more happier didn't feel right. So I just crossed it out and I put happier, healthier, and more fulfilled. I will do less worrying about the things out of my control. I gave myself a second one. I originally put, I will stop, and realized that that was too definitive. I needed to give myself a little bit more grace in this area. So I said, I will do less comparing myself to others. The next question is, I will give myself grace for, and I crossed out for and put when, and use this as when things don't go as planned, knowing progress is better than perfection. Because I get really upset sometimes when I have a plan and it goes off the rails, which happens a lot when you have a family full of neurospicy or neurodivergent people. You have to make adjustments. And those adjustments can be hard for individuals. And having more flexibility and showing my kids that I have more flexibility is really important for them. The next question is, I will let go of unrealistic expectations I put on myself. So if you saw my review of my goals from last year, you may have seen that I didn't meet hardly any of my goals. I still felt like I was making progress, but sometimes I want to go at 150%. And my body can't always keep up with that. And so I have to set realistic expectations. Or at least that's what my physical therapist told me today. I'm trying to do better on that one. The last question they ask you is, I will embrace my true self and stop trying to be everything to everyone. That I also took to ChatGPT just to see what it would say. And I really liked the answer. And so I wrote that down here as well. It said empowered collaboration. And that's not just talking like from a work perspective, it's talking family, all the other aspects of my life as well, which I thought was really interesting and gave me something to really think about. The next thing we have here is something we already did in the previous one, which was my word of the year, which I decided on create. I really like the word. I think it's going to work well with all of my intentions, with where I want to go this year and who I am. The last thing here is what my word means to me. And sorry if you guys have already seen the other video, but we'll go over it again. To bring something into existence through imagination, effort, and intention. It's the act of transforming ideas, emotions, and vision into tangible outcomes, fostering growth, self-expression, and new opportunities. I really like that definition, and that is something that ChatGPT helped me with as well, and I like it for those type of things. This is another area where they're talking about goal setting and how to go about picking your goals. It's a lot of really good information. The one thing I will point out here is when it says committing to goals here, this is off the Makselife videos they did this year. I added to this one where it says, is this a goal I have chosen for myself? And put, or is it a should goal? Because I realized last year that a lot of the goals I really didn't move forward with were goals that I felt like I should do. And some of those I changed mid-year, but really paying attention to the goals I'm setting this year and are they should goals or are they things that truly mean something to me was important. And this is just more about how to write goals, and it goes over the 3 different types of goals. This is something that you really need to keep in mind when you're setting your goals. So there's stretch goals, progress goals, and maintenance goals. So most of your goals should fall in the progress area. These are things that are addressing things like where I want to go, how do I want to feel, who do I want to be, and what do I want to experience. I also put a little note down here that these would be great journaling prompts. So I might try and go and use that at the end of the year, I think, because I feel like I've already gotten through that process this year, but it's something I want to keep in mind for the end of the year. The other thing I'm going to say is it is really easy to overload your goals and have unrealistic expectations as far as how many goals you can do. And this is something that I feel like I did last year. And I even I even pared down last year than previous years. So it's a chronic issue I kind of have. So what I did this year, because as I was typing all my goals into ChatGPT and like asking for feedback and kind of tossing around some ideas, it gave me someone to brainstorm with. I realized these are all the goals that I had, and that it may not be realistic for me to focus on that many. So what I asked it is, going under the Makselife system, how many goals should I have overall? And this is what it told me, which I found really interesting. It said that for personal, I should have 1 to 3 goals. For fun, I should have 1 to 2, prioritizing. And it told me different things to prioritize in here too. Work and learning, 2 to 3. Family and relationships, 2 to 3. Health, 2 to 3. Spirit, 1 to 2. And financial, 1 to 2. And environmental, 1 to 2. So I tried for the most part to stick to that when I was setting these up. But if you're wondering how many goals you should set, that kind of gives you a nice framework. The other thing to keep in mind is, and they say it specifically in here, is that you should have no more than 3 stretch goals. I think the majority of my goals might have been stretch goals last year. And keeping that in mind while I'm setting them has been challenging. Okay, and then this is taking you through your long-term vision, and that'll break down how to do the monthly and weekly goals. We'll have that in a next video, hopefully. And then you get to these pages. These are things like if you're stuck and you need a starting point, these are things you can consider in these different areas that might give you a jumping off point, which I think is really nice. And then this space, they want you to do a mind map. And mind maps are a little challenging for me, to be honest. And so what I decided to do with this space is I put a paper Dalco girl in here. I wish I could draw this good, but I can't. And around it, I put all the words that I either wanted people to know me by, or that, like, if I wasn't here tomorrow, what would be the terms and words I would want someone to know me by? So I had things like, wife and mother, but I also have things like confident, relaxed, honest, creative, hardworking, YouTuber, successful, trusted. And I tried to, and it didn't completely work out because it was me brainstorming, and so I didn't have them all plotted out first. But I tried to give different sizes for different importance of words, which I thought was really fun. So just an idea if mind mapping is not your thing. Now we have our annual goals. So I have my Energel Clina and all my dot markers and some paper Dalco girls, because I really love using these in the way that it looks. All right, our first goal is confident and creative. This should help me to feel more fulfilled, to really feel like who I am, because creativity is a core value for me, and it really leads into that whole process. So I have my paper Dalco girls here, and I wanted one that was yellow to kind of match with the area. So I think she's too tall. And because I want to kind of put it in this area, I'm not going to go with this one either. I'm going to go with this one on the side. And I think I'm going to put her right here. And for this one, I have 3 goals I want to do. So maybe I'll write out the goals and then we'll kind of make them into thought bubbles. All right, so for confident and creative, we're going to complete at least 6 creative projects that bring me joy, establish work free evenings and weekends, curate a wardrobe that inspires confidence, and develop a self care routine. And off of this one, we have a skincare, makeup, and 10 outfits to make it more specific. Our last question for this area is: how will my life improve by reaching these personal goals? Feel more confident, more fulfilled and accomplished, higher self esteem, improved mental and emotional well being, more quality time with my family, positive self image, and sense of empowerment. And this is, I kind of glossed over it, I think, last year and didn't put a lot of thought into this area. But there's a TED Talk out there, and if I can find it, I'll link it up above. And it talks about how people don't buy what you make, they buy why you do it. And I think the same thing is true when we're talking about motivation for ourselves and accomplishing goals. We don't just do the goals because of, they're out in the ether and it seems like a good thing to do. We do them because we have actual things we want to accomplish, and looking at our goals and seeing what are we going to accomplish? How is my life going to improve if I'm able to do these things? Gives us more motivation to move forward. All right, next we have fun and recreation. I feel like this is a category that a lot of us struggle with, myself included, because I'm like, well, I have fun. I'm good, right? So we're going to put our paper doll girl down here. We're going to put her in the middle this time. And this year's focus is going to be on guilt-free joy. And I think this is something a lot of moms especially kind of deal with, is you feel like at a certain point that you can't do things without the rest of your family. Otherwise, you're doing something wrong. You can't go on trips without the rest of your family because then you're a bad person. And don't you spend all your free time with your spouse? And the reality of the situation is that if we don't go off and do our own things, but the reality is if we don't go off and do individual things, we kind of lose ourselves in our spouse and our kids' needs and what they like to do, and we forget what we like to do personally. So this year I'm going to try and focus a little bit more on that, because as a family unit, I think we're doing pretty good. We do fun things. Are there other things I would have liked to have in this area? Yes. But when I was prioritizing things, these were the two that made the most sense. The first is reclaim my joy of reading by completing at least 12 books. This year's implied. The other one is I want to get rid of that guilt. And so I'm going to practice guilt-free fun with weekly reflection. Because I don't know that I can move past the guilt-free portion if I don't do that second step. I can go out and do a ton of things, but if I'm still feeling guilty about them, it's not doing its purpose. So I'll just add a little bit of our thought bubbles here. Now, here's the other thing to keep in mind when you're doing this. If you have an area that you want to do a ton of work on, it's okay to have other areas where maybe you don't have anything. And this would be an area that I think for a lot of people, you could either have one goal or none and still be okay as long as you're in a good spot. As far as how will my life improve if I reach these goals, intellectual growth is a big one. That's what reading always gives us, right? Relaxation, something I'm constantly told I need to work on. I'm not sure when the camera cut off, but we have increased imagination and creativity. And this is all just from reading 12 books, and the impact it can have is huge. I didn't even realize all this. I actually took it to ChatGPT because I was having trouble seeing what kind of impact reading could have on my life in general. And so I asked it, I was like, what is the impact on my life if I'm able to do this? And it spit out a response. And I was like, oh, you have some really good points. I think I'm going to write those down. So if you're struggling with what is the impact, that's a way of going about finding it. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to know you the way you know you, but it can give you a starting off point. And then from the other, we have lighter, emotional, load, reduce stress, which was definitely on our intention, and increased overall happiness. It seems like a really great result from such small actions, honestly. Now we have work and learning. Our focus is going to be on purposeful growth. The girl that I picked out was actually this office girl who I think is amazing looking. I wonder, can we do the really big one? I think the really big one might be a little too big. So we'll go for one of these ones. I can't wait for my newest order of Paper Doll Girls because I hadn't bought in about a year. And so I really stocked up on Black Friday and I can't wait for them to come. So again, I have just 2 things that we're going to work on here, but they're things that should have a huge impact. So the first one is enhancing video editing skills and shorten video length. Super important. It's something I realized over Vlogmas is that my videos are too long, and that there were some videos I had enough time to actually, I did my initial edit and then I brought them back in and rewatched them and did a second edit. And I feel like those videos were better overall and performed better. So I'm going to try and do a little bit more of that in the coming year. Hopefully I can manage my schedule enough to be able to do that. And then the second one is to improve Instagram presence. Sorry. That's spelled incorrectly, isn't it? Shoot. Do I correct it? Yeah, I gotta correct it. Shoot. I'm gonna think of what I can do there. Sorry. Let's try and write it correctly this time. I do have everything spelled on the side here. So, did I do it again? I'm starting to. Dyslexia, your art. My Achilles heels. Heel? Oof. All right, now this one needs a little bit more of an explanation. So improving Instagram presence to align. Line seems weird. I might be misspelling that. With collaboration goals. So I've noticed that a lot of, especially sticker shops and things that I would like to eventually work with, what they look at most seems to be Instagram. And my Instagram just isn't great compared to where I am in YouTube. And so I want them to be a little bit more on par with each other. And so I need to put a little bit more focus there and work on understanding Instagram a little bit more and its integration with Threads, which I signed up for Threads last night. So we'll see how it goes. We're going to try it. We're going to hope it improves things. And we'll make our little thought bubbles here. As for how my life will improve by reaching these work and learning goals, we can say I'll have higher quality videos, which should hopefully lead to growth. And then for the improved Instagram presence, we have expanding reach, hopefully better networking. Something I need to work on this year a little bit is networking. So better networking opportunities and enhanced creative fulfillment. So you might be starting to notice a little bit of a pattern that a lot of these have to do with confidence or growth or creativity, and that's on purpose. I put a lot of thought trying to connect everything together so that I'm supporting each category with other categories, if that makes sense. Next, we have family and relationship. Our focus is going to be on connected and intention. Or connection and intention? Yeah, connection. Oh no, am I running out of ink? I've ran out of ink and 4 pens already. Hold on. All right, evidently I have to buy refills for my Clenas because I have at least 2 that are dead now. So we're going to go with the Sharpie S Gel now, which was my favorite before I tried the Clenas. So we're going to do connected and intentional. Or intention? Intentional. And our girl for this one is going to be this because I thought she kind of looked like a mom. What do you think? So we're going to go with her. I think I'm going to go with a bigger one too. And for this one, I think do I have 2 or 3? 3. Deepen relationship with husband. I think this is always an important thing. Like marriage is one of the things you constantly have to work at, and it doesn't just happen on its own. Does that make sense? You have to really put work into it every year and every season, I feel like. So, deepen relationship with my husband through intentional time. And then to go kind of along with that, we have 1 date a month. So we'll say daily time for each other. And then I also have, so I've been doing this for a couple of years now, but weekly family check-ins. So this is when I go around and I talk to each one of my kids individually. We talk about how school's going or whatever is going on in their life. I ask them a couple of questions. I find out if they need anything, if they have anything important going on that next week, if there's any adjustments we need to do to a schedule, if they're struggling with anything, we address that and those type of things so I can make sure that they're getting what they want and we're regularly touching base on those things. I try to also do it with my husband, but it's a little bit different in that relationship. So we have that one. And then our third one is foster accountability with kids, with clear chore system and weekly review. I'm going to put consequence, but I don't mean that necessarily in a negative. It could be a positive consequence as well. So making sure they're getting some kind of feedback on how they're doing. We can talk about whatever room they have, how they've done that week, what things they need to do better, and giving gentle encouragement that way, but also holding them accountable for when they don't do their chores, which I've been very bad at. And part of that is because of my health and the fact that they've had several years where I was super sick and wasn't able to do things in that realm. And so we just need to get back on track. We did chores for the summer and went really well. School started and everything fell apart again. So making sure that we're consistent is really important. I'm just going to make my little thought bubbles here. Not the best thought bubbles I've ever made, but it'll do. And I like having them separated this way so I can see, hey, that's one idea, that's another idea. And I don't know, it's just visually appealing to me as well. We'll connect these ones because they're connected. So there's our family relationship. Now we have to answer the question of how will my life improve? I'm going to put stronger bonds because I think that applies to both my husband and my kids. Feeling of support / togetherness, greater family harmony, because there's less chance for misunderstandings or not taking something into account when you're regularly checking in with each other. And then this last one, it'll be a reduced workload for me, which will give me time for other things. It'll teach my kids responsibility, which is really important in life in general, and a more organized home. And I think I'm also going to put kids' life skills, because really that's what I'm teaching them with having them do chores. It's not just because I'm like, hey, you need to do chores, or I don't want to do it. It's you need to learn how to do these things so that when you're not here, you can have a nice household and know what things you need to do to take care of that household. All right, our next category is health and wellness. This is probably the hardest category for me, I would say, but we try, right? So I think I'm going to put her on this side. I think this girl's super cute. I didn't order more of her when I made my order, and I wish I had. Okay, focus for health and wellness is thrive daily. And with that, we're going to prioritize daily movement. I'm saying movement instead of a specific thing because I want it to include my step count as well as exercises that I have from PT, as well as if I decide to do other things throughout the year. Like one of the things I've looked into for spiritual and personal growth, where I'm going to be doing meditation, is yoga and using dance and things. And those would all also fall under movement. So I feel like I'm giving myself enough flexibility that it should be easy to obtain and will give me some variety so I don't get bored. I am also putting specifically physical therapy in here because physical therapy is more than movement, right? And I literally had my first appointment today. So I'm hoping to kind of as a side to all of this, get to 10,000 steps day by the end of the year as well. And I think that's going to naturally occur with this, but I do want to have the ability to have something additional that I have to show my progress. Establish healthy sleep and self-care habits. And then the last one is to build a healthy relationship with food and hydration. All right, I feel like I had these broke down a little bit better on a different sheet. Let me actually reference back to that. So I had incorporate one new meal every other week and track food for compatibility and replace soda. I'm just going to put H2O. PT exercises. PT 5 days a week. And this is the bedtime routine. Skincare is also going to fall under this, which I put on the personal as well. And I'm going to look into more ways to do the self-care thing. But let's go along ahead and make our little bubbles. Okay, and the result of doing all of that is improved physical and mental health. I think that's a no-brainer. More energy, at least that's the goal. I'm going to say and stability because it can enhance productivity, improve digestion, heighten body image. I'm pretty happy with that payoff. Is there more I want to do in this area? Yes, I have pages of goals that I could put in this area, but this seems like a good amount. Next, we're going to go to spiritual and personal growth. We did go over this area in detail when I was doing stuff with that toolkit, and I've actually pared things down a little bit to 2 goals instead of 3 because of the amount of things I want to do and being realistic on how much I can do. Our focus is on centered discovery, is what we're calling it. Now, up until this point, I've tried pretty hard to match my girls to the color that they're on, but we're going to go a little bit different here. It's close, but she's more blue, but she seems very celestial to me. Very, very cute girl. So we're going to use this one. And I think I'm going to put her on this side. So my goals here are to develop a list of 12 guiding principles. And then the other one is to explore different types of meditation. And I'm going to just kind of put it in parentheses here, the 1 per month. And then we're going to reflect and incorporate what works. Fairly straightforward and simple, I think. And while these I don't think are going to be crazy hard, I think they're also going to have a nice impact. And it's nice to have something that feels easy to obtain. The result of these is clearer decision making. That is something I had to get from ChatGPT, by the way. Oh, and greater alignment with values, and stronger sense of purpose, reduced stress and anxiety. At least that's what meditation's supposed to do, right? Running out of room here. Hold on. Thinking how to put this in fewer words. So we'll put increased mindfulness. And the other one is emotional regulation. And all of those will help me get to my intentions for this year as well. So I think that's really amazing. One of my biggest things was reduce stress. And honestly, each one of these things will in turn reduce my stress. At least that's what I think as I'm setting them, is that they're all going to bring that stress level down, or at least hopefully they will. Our next is finance. So our focus is going to be on secure, because I didn't know how else to put this, foundation. Now this one, I have one goal and one, what I'm going to call a bonus goal. Trying to decide which girl I want to use. I think, let's use this one. Thank you. So this is kind of going off of last year. Last year, I kind of went with financial knowledge. This year, I want to take it to the next step and create a budget, do weekly and monthly check-ins. Now, the bonus one is going to be, and I'm going to put bonus over here, which I think I just spelled wrong. Dang it. I think I put too many O's in it. It's going to be make a will. So we'll do our little thought bubble around create a budget. I actually had 4 things in this area, and ChatGPT went, yeah, that might be a little much. So how about you do 1? I went, okay, fair enough. So the outcome of this will be reduced stress and anxiety, better savings, because that's the hope, confidence, and a little bit of peace. There's where finance is. And our last one is physical environment. And I don't have any gray really in my Paper Doll Co. girls, so we're going to go with this girl, which I think is really cute. And I think we'll do the big one. And for this one, our focus is going to be simplify and beauty. This is another area where I had a lot of things I could put here, and I decided to trim back because I needed to not have as many, because too many would divide my focus too much. And some of these goals are actually going to be specific to time of year. The first of which is over summer, we're going to organize, declutter, and optimize the basement. So this last year on Saturdays, I implemented something I called Saturday cleanups. So for an hour every Saturday, we worked on a bigger project. Overall, we were working on cleaning up my yard this last year. So this coming year, we're going to work on the basement. I'm not sure how big of a project that's going to be, but it's definitely going to be a multi-week project. So I feel like that is a good starting point. And if we have time for other things, we'll figure that out, but I'm not going to overload it with other stuff. We're also, this one's a big one for me, seek external support by outsourcing 1 task per quarter. And I mentioned this when we were doing those toolkits, that the biggest thing that I have in this is actually outsourcing the gardening, because I have allergies to the plants. I'm not able to maintain it. Bending over makes me sick. So it feels like a good thing to offload and let somebody else do. So that is the intention there. And then the last one is to streamline household efficiency with one new system per quarter. And I think the combination of all three of those things, they're kind of broad enough that it gives me some flexibility, but specific enough that we're going in the right direction and I can figure out a measurable way to track them. Let's make our thought bubbles. I can never remember, is it the light gray or the, yeah, because there's a light gray and a dark gray. Okay, and the result of being able to do all three of those will be a smoother running house, family cooperation, reduced pressure on me, and I think some anxiety goes with that, of kind of expectations, teamwork, a more relaxing space. That is my last area. I'm pretty happy with the way this all turned out. I have not done a vision board in here. Now, we're gonna zoom back out for this one. So I was curious if ChatGPT could make a vision board. So I asked it to. And this is the result. And I was kind of like, some of the words, I'm not sure are actually words, but it's an interesting concept and I was intrigued by it. So I'll give you the full color image here. You can tell me what you think. I think it was a fun experiment. Am I really going to use this as my vision board? No, but I just thought it was something fun. So if you're having trouble making a vision board, it might be something to look at to see if it works for you. I'm still a little on, AI generated artwork is something I'm not sure how I feel about currently. So I will say that, but this was a nice experiment. That being said, I will show you where my vision board is currently. It's not complete. I need to do some more work on it. But here is the initial. And over here, I've kind of used a combination of stickers to kind of represent most of the areas of life and how I want them to go. So I have the couple in family and relationship. For health and wellness, I have this girl. And then we have some paper doll girls. This one was from Letters to Apollo. I have the really nice house, kind of the tranquil feeling is what I was going for physical environment. And then for financial, I made, I really struggled with something I had to represent what I wanted to do with financial, but I did have this Coffee Monster Co. washi. And so I made them into little frames on the wall and the picture behind the girl. So just to give you an idea of that. And then I do have a second page. Hold on. This one is very much a work in progress right now. And the thought being that I have these film strips that would have separate pieces of what would come together to make all my different goals. So to give you an example, like I have this girl. This is from The Giving Girl. And on that sheet, she had these like makeup things and stuff. And I felt like those kind of go with my personal self-confidence type goals. And then we have like the cleaning here and the window washing, the stretching, the hydration with the drink over here, the me time, the girl working on the computer, the girl in the bath, apple picking, because that's something I want to do with my kids this year. This is a menu from a restaurant type coffee shop thing. So I thought that worked well with food. And we also have like the bowl and the tea down here. And then we have the pencils for the creativity part. We have a picnic over here, kind of going again with that whole family thing. We have a beach, the girl in the bathtub. But like I said, this is still a work in progress. But I'm pretty happy with how it's going so far. The As you can see, everything's still in a very light pencil, and I need to go through and make those lines darker with a pen or marker still, but overall happy. I need to add more to this one as well. So that's where everything is. I hope this was fun for you guys and that you got something out of it. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask me down below. Sorry this is crazy long, and until next time, I'll see you real soon.